I don't know if you've seen the article. It was about Coach and how they've come up with a new price point. Obviously, it looks like they went and did exactly what you just described. And then in developing a new price point, they have to develop a whole new culture around pricing, sourcing, design. How do you take the information and not let it slow you down so you can still get to market like you described? Or do you have to wait a full year maybe to do something as innovative as that?
Actually, if you have in your PLM data hub all the components for sourcing, for example, you need to have where have you sourced everything before, and then competitively, where are other people sourcing? So if all of a sudden you decide, you know what, I now want to retail my handbags for this price, how does that affect, you have your costing and everything already in there, your raw materials? Well, okay, it means one of two things. Either I have to reduce my materials by X, or I have to reduce the make by Y, or it's a combination of both.
Right.
And you make decisions regarding that.
Definitely. Let's talk a little bit about the whole sourcing costing. Any best practices and philosophies on how PLM can help with that other than, being a library? Are there other efficiencies that are possible? The whole, supply chain has changed now with quotas changing and where you source things from. What have you seen in the last few years that's different than in the past?
Well, there's been more movement from country to country, and whereas you had an established network of factories, if price is most important, you're going to see sourcing movement continuously. If the labor force in China is much greater than another country, people are going to move goods to China. If it happens to be in India, people will move goods to India, wherever best price is. Then, of course, you have best quality. So best quality at a higher price point, you may want to have factories that have worked with you for years and years and years because you can control your quality. You know those factories. They understand your aesthetic. Training a factory can take a year to 2 years. So it depends on the type of brand, the type of design of product that you have as to what your sourcing structure will look like. But mobility is really important, and having offices around the world or access to offices around the world, and being knowledgeable. Being knowledgeable about raw materials, all of your findings, the development of all of these, and best places for make.
If you're bringing in this whole supply chain, development chain, these vendors, all these people from outside, who should pay for them to play in the PLM game? Is that something that should be a platform the organization that's initiating the relationship should absorb? Or is there a way that you can get some of those vendors to pay to play, like in the EDI days?
I think it's a shared, I think the new world is shared. Factory owners used to just make the product. Now they actually have full teams that do product development, that show you all types of materials that you could use that really stimulate the designers and inspire the designers. So that's a real shift. And it's almost part of doing business. So I think that it's shared as a collaborative effort between suppliers, manufacturers, and retailers.
Let's talk about all of the things around reporting and having visibility into your business. Where are we? Who is it? When is it going to be done? All of that. What are the best practices that you've had in the past throughout the industry? I guess this is a loaded question. Everybody uses spreadsheets. How do we get away from spreadsheets? Or are spreadsheets still really the only way to get the information there when you need it?
The person who develops an easier way than spreadsheets, users will embrace. So, I mean, we didn't have spreadsheets before. We did things in writing, okay? Writing and faxing. Remember that?
Yeah.
800 pages of faxes that you had to read every day. And then we went to email. Now we have instant messaging. So I think that technology, it's hard to predict what it will be, but the one thing to remember is the technology that gives you the fastest information and the most accurate, knowledge is power. And users will adopt it. We are adopters. Social networking is a prime example. Text messaging, who would have thought? You know, well, we had email. Why would you text message if you have email? And I am. I mean, who would have thought?
Right, Skype.
Skype. People want to communicate. So if you have a technology that helps them communicate better, they will utilize it.
It just has to be easy for them to use.
Easy, flexible, not a lot of time spent, you know, and have the input that you're looking for. Search engines. I'm like a Google search, you know, fanatic, okay? You know, I'm on a phone, you know, and we're multitasking all the time. Watching TV, listening to music on a phone, and oh, by the way, the person is saying, did you hear about, and you're already, no, but, you know, is that, da-da-da-da-da-da? So it's, you know, information is just power, and people love information, and they love to get their job done as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible. So I think everything's going to change.
So great segue to this question. When you're looking at the top 5 reports that are product development and sourcing, so something that would impact PLM, not sales, not, you know, the retail or warehouse side, what are the top 5 key indicator type things you're looking to manage on a day-to-day basis as the leader of the vision?
The first thing is always, what is the consumer telling us? So it is the daily, weekly, monthly, season-to-date, year-to-date performance at retail versus last year. By style, by category, by style, by color, by size. So it's what we call the pulse of the business. Mm-hmm. And then looking at the competitor analysis like MPD on where are you ranking? How did they perform? So many meetings about how did your competition, every week. How did the competitors perform? How did our retail partners perform? What are the signs? What are the trends? So that is an analysis that the entire company has to look at on a weekly basis.
What about the calendar? What are the key areas? That are samples an issue? Is it production?
You know, within merchandising, the other reports is always looking at what do we ship. So all of your, as a manufacturer, it's your revenues. So what do we ship on a daily, weekly, monthly against our budget against last year? What are the open orders that we have in the system left to ship, and are we delivering on those open orders? And then from a production standpoint, where are we with the supply chain? Is our production on time? Is it coming in on time? Are we meeting our deadlines as far as our shipping dates? That is a weekly analysis. Mm-hmm. Inventory control. Where our inventory is at? What do we have as a balance to sell in our inventories? Are we on track? And in a publicly held company, we have our weekly meetings, we have our monthly senior management meetings, we have our quarterly reviews with the operating committee, we have our analyst reviews, we have our 3 to 5 year strategic plans. Where are we at against those strategic plans? And always driven by the financial. Where are we at top line, bottom line? Are we on track margin wise? So there is a lot of reporting, but it can really be condensed into really 5 reports.
Okay.